Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Davis. My name's Robin Datel. I'm a member of the board. I am not as prepared as I usually am today. It's sort of like going into, thank you. It's like going into a lecture class not having reviewed my notes beforehand. So here I am, and I use she, they pronouns. If this is your first time with us online or in person, we're really glad that you're here. Let's take a moment to connect with our online community. Welcome, friends, joining us online. Now let's greet one another, briefly saving deeper conversations for coffee hour. When you hear the music, please return to your seats. As you settle in, a reminder that our digital bulletin contains all announcements for the week, and our welcome hosts can help you access it. I'm going to highlight one of those announcements, and that is an opportunity to be part of a discussion of this year's UUA Common Read, Social Change Now, a guide for reflection and connection by Deepa Iyer. And Reverend Angeline, Sophia, and Tamara will be with you for a day-long retreat on May 23rd. To discuss this important work. It provides a framework and sort of elucidates different roles that people play in collective action and helps maybe each of us find a role that we're excited by and comfortable with. So it really is quite a practical guide. The retreat is free. Everyone who participates, all 20 of you, which is the number we're aiming at, gets a free copy of the book to study ahead of time. Registration is required, and you can sign up on Realm by May 9th. So that's only about a week from now. If you need help getting to the retreat on that day, again on May 23rd, please let us know. And Sophia will be at a table in our social hall to answer your questions. Our story to the rich tapestry of stories that have unfolded on this land. For thousands of years, this land has been the home of the Patwin people, including the Yocha Dihi Wintun Nation today. The Patwin people have remained committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. It has been cherished and protected as elders have instructed the young through generations. We are honored and grateful to be gathered here today on their traditional lands. Let us carry this awareness of connection into our time together.
So now we're going to sing one of our favorites from the Gray Hymnal. For those of you who've been missing it.
For Chalice lighting, Morgan Harper Nichols has a chant that just keeps falling in on me these days, so I'm going to use that. May you find peace. May you find peace before you know what comes next. Breathe before you know what's ahead. You are free to slow down and be still for a while. May you find peace before you know what's ahead. Breathe before you know what comes next. You are free to slow down and be still for a while.
Good morning, beloveds. I'm happy to see so many of you out after probably partying very hard yesterday. Our time of joys and sorrows this morning, I'll start it with an excerpt from The Beautiful Mess by John Pavlovitz, and he posted this yesterday. Remember, if you can't hear me, let me know. Thank you. He writes, right now, we need to make peace with the fact that the news will continue to be bad. We are going to witness an ever more desperate and violent descent into the depths of the malevolence that broken human beings are capable of. And we should prepare ourselves not to be paralyzed by disbelief. Our energy should be better spent getting on with the work before us, of building a broad coalition of resistance, of taking our strategic stands where we can, of leveraging our economic power, of caring for those being targeted, and creating a compassionate community that curates decency and love for neighbor. The last couple days I was trying to figure out what is Joys and Sorrows gonna look like today. And I opened Facebook and that excerpt was right there. And I thought, how many different ways can you say it's bad? This is a great way to just talk about it. So we light our candle of sorrow, not only for our personal griefs, but for the things that break our hearts, keep us up at night, and make us weep, for the spoken and unspoken, seen and unseen sorrows and concerns that burden our spirits. We light our candle. And even in these outrageous times, difficult times, moments of joy persist, like Allegra and Jane dancing, embodying the song, like yesterday's karaoke and dance, and our maypole dance later. There's a lot of dancing this weekend. We light our candle of joy to celebrate all the things that bring us joy and the personal joy that sustains us through challenging times. Please join me now in a moment of silent reflection, holding space for both the sorrows that weigh on our hearts and the joys that lift our spirits. I invite you to take a breath and release it with me. And together we end this ritual moment. Amen. Please remain seated and join in singing heart-opening song. It's from Singing the Living Tradition. If you have a copy of that hymn in your hand, please share it with the person who may not have a copy next to you.
And Jacob's going to play it through once so that you'll hear the melody before you sing it.
Open wide to
Living the questions. I don't do well with being unsettled. I like to know where things are and have a home. But it seems like every time I move, something like really absurd and fast goes on, and I have to figure out what abrupt changes I need to deal with. And I guess overall I'd say I'm faithful. I know things will turn out in the end, all that good. But I still am unsettled. When I moved a lot as a kid, up until age 10 or so, we were in military family. Retired to Wisconsin, where I quickly found out that like almost all my classmates had lived in the same house all their lives. I never met anybody like that. So, I didn't think I would be there that long, but we stayed in pretty much the same place for 11 years, and that was a whole different thing. And then I moved to a new town for college, and figured that'd be finish my 2 or 3 years, but stayed a little longer until my first child was 3, and then, we got like a 3-week notice to move to California, and packed up and gave away a bunch of stuff, and we ended up in Northern California. Thought 5 years, that's pretty good. Now it's been 40 years that I've been in Yolo County, and towards the end of my time in the city of Woodland, I sold a house, and by the time, everything happened, it was like, I had 3 weeks to find a place. Maybe it was 2. But I landed on this great little farmhouse in the country, started just being in dirt. Now it has flower beds and garden and trees, and I've tended it lovingly like my own home. In fact, thinking that I might be fortunate enough to die there, not too soon, but, that I'd be able to still carry on. And then a little over 3 weeks ago, I got notice that after being there 12 years, I had 60 days to move. And I was like, no, I just planted the garden, and what am I gonna do? And, all of that. So it was pretty devastating, and I'm still pretty upset. But, they say you can fight, flight, or freeze. Like, what is there to fight? My landlady wanted to put her caregiver in there. That made sense. She needs the help. Okay, I'm on. I'm not a freezing kind of a person, so I decided to kick into action. And, what's the first thing you do is start throwing things away, giving things away. So that was even the first night, crying through this, I don't need this anymore, whatever it takes. Until today or yesterday, in which I'm all of a sudden like 90% moved out, which means I'm maybe 20% moved in to my other place. There's piles and all that. I think I have one more big load and some hauling to do. But, last night I spent my first night in the apartment. And like, do I want to be in an apartment complex? Well, I'll figure that out too. I knew that I just had to forge ahead. I wanted a place that I can eventually call home. Well, I'm going to give myself a whole month, to put things in the right places. But I just have to trust that everything will be fine. I don't want to make any rash decisions and buy some house in a neighborhood and then decide that doesn't work. So I'm just having faith that there will be better times. Today, I don't know where my lotion is, my power cord. I kind of didn't even know remember I was going to be here until last week, so I was like, oh boy. But I know where my toothbrush is, and I knew to set up my bed and clean sheets by 9 or so last night and get into an Epsom salt bath, because I tell you, 200 flights of stairs is a lot. And my dogs and I will adjust to new rhythms, not being in the nice, dark, quiet country. But everything's going to be okay. And it's going to be better than okay because, we live with the questions. And it requires faith, and that I have an abundance of. And then I'm going to introduce the song that we're singing next. It's on here somewhere, but I wanted to say I have the priceless memory of the next song. And my mother-in-law, Catherine, was just shy of 100 and when she was hospitalized and in hospice. She, what I called, held court. She had people coming through and wanted to sit down graciously, person by person, and tell us what memorable interaction for her was with us individually. And with me, we were always into the big questions. And as she's talking, and my daughter Caitlin's there, and Catherine's talking about, really wanting to figure out the mysteries of life. And so, she pretty much used all the words of the song. So I started quietly singing Where Do We Come From to her. And as, of course, I started to falter. Caitlin joined in, and that was our fond goodbye to her.
So as most of you know, this is a round, and I think we're going to sing it through once all together, and then we're going to split it into two. No, there are 4 chunks of the song. We're going to split it into 2. And do you have a preference to that side of the side being first?
Well, we practice it with me going first.
Yeah.
Don't mess with my practice.
Don't change that.
Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where are we? Where do we going? Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, where do we come from? Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going?
Beautiful. Thank you for that music. I really love singing around in this congregation. It's especially uplifting. And thank you to Karen for those words from the heart. So this week's offering is dedicated to the well-being and growth of our church and its programming. And it says here to the board member in charge, please highlight an area of the church that is meaningful to you or on your mind. Well, since I didn't have any time to think about this, but I'm going to continue with the theme that we're already working with, and that is with the church's really meaningful help to all of us, each of us, with life transitions, whether it be moving to a new place, whether it be welcoming a new member to your family, watching your kids during, while they enter into young adulthood, getting married, and of course, celebrations of life. And where is Jerry? There she is. Can you put your hand up, Jerry? So she is overseeing our Celebration of Life team, and we have had a lot of celebrations of life, an amazing number of them, and she and her team have just been wonderful. So I really want to give Jerry and her team a big hand. It's really such an important part of what the church does, is help people with these transitions. So there are several ways you can contribute to our offering. You may give via the UUCD website. You can text UUCD offering to 73256, or by check sent to UUCD with offering in the memo line. And those in the sanctuary with cash or check gifts are invited to place them in the basket. Thank you for your generosity. Please join me in expressing gratitude for our offering by repeating our covenant. We give these gifts for creating a spiritual community with actions based on respectful conversation, receptive listening, and open-hearted presence.
I was sitting there and I realized I zoned out for a hot second because I really am tired. We had the thing yesterday and you didn't see what happened in the week before the yesterday and headaches started. Anybody has painkillers? If you have any Advil or ibuprofen, I'm really serious. I would take 2 right now. Sorry. Sometimes life just happens in the middle of things. And I promise I didn't set this up today in this way, but the sermon is about grace. So, it all just kind of works together.
Oh my God, give me grace. I don't have any.
That's okay. That's all right. Koba has. Okay, now I'm gonna have 2 sets. I will take it. I wrote this one. Yeah. Thank you. Because we're all human and things just kind of pop off in the middle of time. So before I continue, can we thank our song leaders? Unlike Robin, I do not like rounds. My brain can't hold it. I can't hold a round. I also can't harmonize because I can't hold my own line. So it probably makes sense why I don't like rounds. All right, let's get serious for a few minutes. The world around us rewards certainty, expertise, confidence, seriousness. And while that is good and useful, I think sometimes, most areas of our life and the world would benefit from the humility that comes from the absence of arrogance in expertise. I say this gently. Now, Unitarian Universalists are known to be highly educated people, right? That type of expertise can turn us into people set in our ways, despite being a tradition that values asking questions and supports the search for truth and meaning. If we fully lived into who we are as UUs, then we should be asking questions daily. In this context, traditions can transform from the beautiful, meaningful, and meaning-making practices of being a community into something brittle, inflexible, and unchangeable, the very opposite of what our faith calls us to be. Water ceremony, which is also a new way of talking about it, or water communion, for many of our communities, including this one, used to include sharing the story of where your water came from, right? But as time progressed, we realized the inequity of the process. Inviting people to share the story of where their water came from risked elevating the people who could go somewhere for their summer break. And the stories went on too long and didn't really hold any spiritual context. Did that happen here? Over time, many congregations began phasing out the story of where the water came from and taking different approaches to how people shared or did not share. In fact, some of you might remember that I also followed that line of thinking. Our water ceremonies have not asked where you got your water, but have asked how you plan to share and contribute to the community over the course of the year. That kind of institutional openness, however, doesn't happen automatically. It requires individuals willing to say in their own areas of knowledge that they don't have the complete answer. And I say this as an expert in LGBTQ education. I know that territory well, and even there, maybe especially in that space, I have learned that the most honest and generative thing I can say sometimes is I don't know. How many times have any of you asked me a question and my response is I don't know? Right? What if where we are today is the question year? Growing up in my brethren church and in our family devotions, we regularly sang this song. Your grace and mercy brought me through. I'm living this moment because of you. I want to thank you and praise you too. Your grace and mercy brought me through. I know what grace feels like before I know a definition of it. It feels like a warm hug, a gentle smile, the deep relaxation of knowing you don't have to earn your place in the room. If I had to give it words, I'd say grace is unearned, freely given, sustaining, and perhaps most importantly for today's message, it is an invitation. Grace doesn't demand that you have arrived. It meets you exactly where you are. Who are we? What are we becoming? Where are we going? These are not signs that something has gone wrong. They are the questions that come up when grace has arrived, when we are held enough to finally ask. And we are asking these questions in an uncertain world. It feels like everything is crashing all the time at once. The conditions for greater food insecurity continue to rise. The tech industry is consuming our natural resources and polluting our environment. And the ground beneath institutions we thought were settled keeps shifting. I've read a number of perspectives on this moment, and they share a sense that we are at a tipping point. Everyone and everything, individuals, institutions, systems, is being asked what part it will play in the transformation currently underway. That is not a comfortable question. We question the rationale, the intent, the humanity of what we are watching unfold. And our human instinct in uncertain times is to reach for what holds us. Tradition, certainty, the familiar. It's not wrong, and it's not enough. What if instead of rushing toward an answer, we stayed with the question? What if we let it open us? I think this is what Zora Neale Hurston was pointing to when she wrote, "There are years that ask questions," in her novel, Their Eyes Were Watching God. What does it mean to say the year asks? Something is being addressed to us. We are not simply adrift, we are being asked. And that asking is, as uncomfortable as it is itself a form of grace. The questions and the certainty are not a problem to be solved. They are an invitation to receive what is being asked of us and to extend that same grace to one another in the not knowing, in the way we have extended grace today. Perfect example. Yesterday we hosted barn beats and karaoke. What you didn't see was earlier in the week, me with absolutely no idea how to run a karaoke event. I started where most of us start, assuming I knew more than I did. I was sure a karaoke machine was the whole system. It is not. A karaoke machine is just the speakers and the microphone. So then I had to learn how to run karaoke from my DJ deck, which led to learning how to connect 2 additional microphones so that you could do duets, which led to discovering that I needed a mixer and that I needed to learn how to connect the mixer to the board, which led to buying new cables and the feedback. You know that terrible feedback when, the feedback that comes when the wrong cord with connections, which led to changing the ports the cables were plugged into and the different cables. That was just in the week. That's not yesterday, where we also had more feedback. But anyway, until finally, the connections were right and the sound was clean at home when I was testing it. And we haven't even gotten to the software that's required to run the karaoke, because you need lyrics and music. Throughout the whole process, there were messages and emails flying between me and Kate and Sophia and Thomas and Alexander and Mandy Dawn and Mike and Reverend Alex. Oh, it was a whole team effort. And then we had fun. We had fun, right? We had fun yesterday. What made that possible was not expertise. It was the willingness to not know and to follow the not knowing through every wrong cable, every burst of feedback, and to keep asking the next question. That is beginner's mind. Suzuki Roshi, a Japanese Zen Buddhist monk who brought Zen practice to the US in the 1950s, and whose teaching continues to shape how many people understand meditation and mindfulness. He wrote that the purpose of Zen teaching is to, quote, make you wonder and to answer that wondering with the deepest expression of your own nature, end quote. Not to give you answers, to do what? To make you wonder. He also wrote, quote, the mind of the beginner is empty, free of the habits of the expert, ready to accept, to doubt, and open to all possibilities, end quote. Empty, not ignorant, just empty, ready to receive what is there rather than what we expect to find. That is what Hurston knew about questionnaires. Her main character, Janie Crawford, didn't find herself by acquiring more certainty. She found herself by finally allowing the questions to be hers. Not her grandmother's, not Logan's, not Joe's, not the porch community's. The beginner's mind is not a blank mind. It is a mind that has stopped letting other people's expertise answer its questions for it. And we have practiced that as a tradition. The hymnal many of you know and love, Singing the Living Tradition, a Gray hymnal, was itself once new. Published in 1993, after decades of singing from what came before it. Did you know that there was a 1964 hymnal called Hymns for the Celebration of Life? It was the first hymnal of the merged Unitarian and Universalist tradition. And did you know that before that? The 1935 Beacon Song and Service book was the first joint hymnal between the Unitarians and the Universalists before they became a merged faith. Can you imagine the folks who got the 1964 hymnal after singing the 1935 hymnal? And then the folks who got the 1993 hymnal after singing the 1996 hymnal? When was the Teal hymnal? Was that 2009 or 90-something? Teddy's about to tell me. Or the folks who, can you imagine the folks who, after singing the 1993 hymnal, got the 2005 hymnal, and then had to learn 2005 hymns? Each one arrived in a congregation that knew the previous hymns by heart, that had sung them at memorial services and joyful Sundays and ordinary in-between weeks. Each one asked the congregation to be beginners again. And now we have Sing Out Love, all virtual, continuously updated, so we always have something new, a format we have never experienced before. I know some of you aren't quite happy with it. That's honest and fair. And we have been here before. Not knowing a new melody is not a failure of faith. It is faith in practice. It is beginner's mind in these seats. That is not a small thing. Being asked to be a beginner again in a community you have loved and served and sung in for years, that asks something real of you. I am asking something real of you. It has a cost. Like sometimes not quite sounding the way you want to sound, and that's fine. It is not nothing to set down what you know and pick up something unfamiliar. It is not nothing to trust that the not knowing is worth staying inside. And yet, here we are, still showing up, still willing. That willingness lives not just in congregations and traditions, it lives in people, in you. So we have talked about the world's questionnaire. We have talked about this congregation's questionnaire, but what about yours? Not the questions your family needs you to answer, not the questions your work, your role, your history have already answered for you. Your question. Janie Crawford spent the first half of her life letting everyone around her fill in the blank of who she was. Her grandmother, Logan, Joe, the community. By the time she was finally alone with her own question, she almost didn't recognize it as hers. The beginner's mind Suzuki describes, empty, ready, open, is particularly the practice of clearing away everyone else's certainty about you long enough to hear what you are actually being asked. I want to now offer us a moment together. Not a moment to figure anything out, just a moment to sit inside that question. Those of you here in the sanctuary, on Zoom, watching later, wherever you are, whatever you are carrying into this moment, I invite you into this moment, this invitation. If it is comfortable, especially for those listening afterwards, if it is comfortable and safe for you, let your eyes close or soften your gaze. If you are able, let your body settle, whatever that settling feels like and means for you in this moment. Take a breath or simply notice that you are breathing. When you're ready, let this question come to rest inside you. Not to answer it, just to hold it. Let it be yours. What is this year asking of you? Gently, let your awareness return to this room, this community, this moment. Whatever arose in that silence, or didn't arise, because sometimes the beginner's mind is simply quiet, that is yours. You don't have to resolve it today. You don't have to name it or share it. You just have to be willing to stay in the question a little longer than is comfortable. That willingness is itself a spiritual practice. We will not leave here today with the answers. That was never the purpose. The purpose was this, that the questions themselves are a form of grace, that the not knowing is not a sign that something has gone wrong, but that something is being asked of us. That we have in this room, in this community, with these people, already practiced the art of picking up something new and learning it together. One wrong cable at a time. One unfamiliar melody at a time. We can do it again because we are doing it now. The beginner's mind is not the absence of wisdom, it is wisdom that has stayed open. And a community that stays open to the questions, to each other, to what is still becoming, is a community capable of reverence. Curiosity is not weakness. It is the beginning of reverence. So before we move outside, I want to take a moment to orient us to what we're about to do. And I want to start with an honest invitation. I know that for many of you, the maypole is not new. This community has a history with it. And as I have been saying, I am still learning some of this history. So before I say anything else, if you were here in the years when we have danced the maypole together, if you remember how it felt or what it meant to this community, I give you a minute if you could share that with us. Did you hear the question? Anybody willing to share? Okay. All right. Well then, I guess I will find out for myself. So, yeah, Kate, come tell us, please. Thank you.
On the fly, for sure.
Is this on?
Because I have a memory of Craig Labé-Renaud being inspired to put it together because he was a very active, he and his family were very active in our pagan community. And it's part of Beltane, the celebration of spring. And they wanted to work with the rest of our religious education, to keep those traditions and rituals alive in our community. So this was part of that. And he built it. And I think he was storing it all this time. And he brought it, or maybe it was kept in the shed. I'm not really sure of that part. But he helped bring it back to us. And in the old days, we used it around spring, of course. And you'll see pictures on our website in our publicity, the old photos of the children. You might recognize them. They're in their 20s now. But back then, they were little, and they were 40s. Okay. Back then, they were super cute, okay? So I'm not saying, but anyway. And so they danced the spring dance, and I don't know the spring dance, so please don't look at me for that. But there was live music available at that time, and they learned how to do the in and out weaving of the ribbons. So if anybody knows how to do that, I'm sure you'd be very welcome.
Thank you, Kate. That's the kind of memory that lives in you. And I'm glad for you to have brought it into the room. Now, for those of you who are newer to this, or you want a little bit more context before you step outside, I want to do this fast. The maypole tradition is old. It goes back to outdoor festivals. Kate just said all of that. The result, a braided, colorful pole, was a visible record of the community's movement together. You couldn't make it alone. Every dancer's path depended on everyone else's. And that tradition traveled. I was thinking, I don't know anything about maypole, and then I remembered, nope, we've had it in Jamaica. It's sometimes called long ribbon pole, and it became part of outdoor social festivals and developed its own distinctive styles, the spider web, the dome, the umbrella, the basket weave. I don't know how you do any of those. Different patterns, same principles. The beauty comes from people moving in relationship. And I love that we're bringing it into this service where we've just spent time talking about questions we can't answer alone. It is that a maypole is itself not a kind. The maypole is itself a kind of answer, not a verbal one, an embodied one. You take your ribbon, you hold it, you trust that the people moving toward you and away from you know their part, and together, step by step, something is woven that none of you could have made by yourselves. That's community. That's what we're walking out to do. Virginia will lead us with her flute. Let's go make something together. Yeah, we're ready. You are welcome to join. I think I said that. I think my mic is still on. Yeah.